Welcome back to Core Anesthesia. Whether you are a student prepping for tests and boards or a CRNA here to earn CEUs, we are glad you've joined us. For more about us, make sure to check us out on Instagram at Core Anesthesia and online at coreanesthesia.com.
Welcome back to Core Anesthesia. I'm Cole here with Tanner and two other additional guest speakers we have today. We're really excited about bringing in our beautiful wives that are going to come and talk about their journey through anesthesia school. We think it's very important that we talk to our spouses and just have their perspective on what life is like going through school. It's so easy for us to get so tunnel visioned with everything that we have to do for anesthesia that we often can lose sight of the relationships with our spouse, our family, et cetera. And so we really wanted to bring in our wives and just have them talk about their perspective, both for couples that are about ready to start the program, what spouses should know, different tips and tricks going into it, what they should be aware of, things they wish they would have known, as well as while people are actually going through school, what are things that should be expected, that just to know that you're not alone if you feel certain ways about stuff, because let's just face it, it's hard. It's probably the hardest 3 years that we're going to go through. And this is just something that we really wanted to put all out there and just have our wives talk about their perspective. So hopefully this is beneficial to the listeners out there. And again, just both from the perspective of going into school as well as during school, what are some things that you should be aware of just to help your relationship thrive and not just put that on the back burner for 3 years going through school.
Yeah, and I think when I was preparing for school, I was anticipating how difficult it would be to study and have all the time commitment of clinical and things like that for me. But I think what I wasn't prepared for is how difficult it would be on a family and just the added stress and time away from being home and away from doing things you normally do, not having either the finances or the time to do the same type of date nights or just taking time away that you would normally have as, a bedside nurse and things like that. So I think that was something that was definitely an adjustment for me. And I'm excited to hear from our wives here just how that's been an adjustment for them. And I think it'll be helpful for people to just keep that in mind as you are transitioning into school. The aspect of how difficult it will be for your spouse, I think, is something really to take seriously and to consider. So now I can introduce my wife, Danny. Danny, you just want to tell us a little bit about what you do for a career and maybe just a little bit about your transition into CRNA school.
Sure. So like Tanner said, my name is Danny. Tanner and I have been married for 6 going on 7 years, and we met in nursing school. So first day of nursing school, we bonded over some awesome icebreakers. So I'm a nurse. My background is in NICU. I started off in the NICU world for my first 4 years of my career. And then when we moved to CRNA school, I transitioned to an outpatient role. I am a NICU developmental follow-up clinic coordinator. So I coordinate care for NICU babies post NICU grad life. And then I also spend some time coordinating care for developmental pediatrics at the hospital here where we live. So I kind of have 2 roles, but I transitioned from a bedside job to a outpatient clinic job. I think one of the biggest changes as we transition from life before CRNA school to life during CRNA school, Tanner and I were travel nurses previous to this experience. And so going from a free schedule to a very rigorous and full schedule was tough for us. But I think initially people just warned us that this would be rough all around on the student, not only the student, but also the family. And it was tough to transition into so much time just dedicated to one subject all the time. Our whole life revolved around CRNA school all of a sudden from Christmas 2018, all of a sudden when we moved to CRNA school 2019, January, day one, just the shift of gears quickly was something that I wasn't necessarily prepared for mentally.
Yeah, I think that was something that we've talked about a lot because, well, Cole, you and I have talked about this, but while you're in school, you don't have a lot of resources. It's not like you're making money, but the one resource that we do have is our time. And so much of that is taken up into school. We can't choose otherwise. You have to be at clinical, you have to be at class. And so, I'll think it'll be interesting to talk about that a little bit more here in a second. But definitely a huge transition for us, going from a very free schedule to just revolving completely around anesthesia school.
Right. And I want to introduce my beautiful wife, Paige. And Paige, just same question for you. Just kind of talk about what you do and how the transition was just starting off with school and just how that transition went in terms of adapting. I know we were a little bit different in the fact that we just had a newborn at the time. So kind of talk about how that transition went.
I was a surgical technologist for 5 years and then just recently switched to administrative role at our local church just for flexibility and just as CRNA school gets more time consuming and a little more clinical based. It was just a good move for our family, for me to be a little more present at home and just to have more flexibility. And our story is a little different than Tanner and Danny's. We started CRNA school with a 6-month-old little boy, and just being new parents and trying to figure that role out, and then going into a massive change in Cole's life and in turn our life. It was just pretty difficult. You know, the number one comment I got when I said that my husband was going to start CRNA school was, "Oh, that has the highest divorce rate." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Thanks for the encouragement." And we kind of always laughed about that. But, you know, there is truth to it because it is just so hard. And so you have to have a really firm foundation and you have to have a really strong marriage and just give a lot of grace. So I think I've learned a lot through that, just giving Cole so much grace and not expecting anything of him, not expecting him to help with Theo or do anything around the house. So it's just been a major transition. And as Theo has gotten older and now he's 2.5 and we have another baby on the way, it is just even more crazy. But, you know, we're getting through it, and it's been a good journey, a hard journey, and everything in the middle. But we are excited for the end. It finally feels like it's maybe starting to come a little closer.
Yeah, and I just want to say for all you out there, I do clean up the dishes a little bit, okay? I don't have complete disregard for the housework. I do a little bit when I can, but in all honesty, Paige has had to do a lot of the grunt work with that. I wish I was home more to be able to help. I think that was the hardest part in the first year and a half of our program, was that I actually was home. We weren't in clinical yet. How our program is set up, it's mostly didactic the first year and a half. And that was a struggle for us because it was this weird limbo state of I was home, but I really wasn't available because there was so much busy work to do, paper writing, forum post, studying. It was just a big transition piece from that standpoint. And so I was present, but I really wasn't present, if that makes any sense, because I felt like I was trying to multitask and do schoolwork, but also play with my son and help out and have conversations with my wife. And I ended up stretching myself too thin, and I wasn't able to completely devote time to either one because I was trying to multitask so much. And it ended up just burning me out because I didn't feel like I was completely satisfying that time with my family, as well as I wasn't doing myself due diligence and actually studying to the fullness that I needed to. And I ended up having to spend more time studying that way. And once I kind of got in that groove of I'm going to leave and go study for this X amount of hours every morning, and then my evenings are solely for family time. And that kind of varied when tests came up and stuff, but that's really what helped from that standpoint.
Yeah, Paige, you talk about the transition from now going to basically not expecting much from Cole because of just the weight of anesthesia school and things like that. Do you think that was a quick transition, or was that more of like at first, no, you should be able to manage, both, like kind of like work and at home? I can imagine that'd be pretty frustrating, I feel like, at the beginning of that.
So when Cole was a nurse, he was home a lot and had a lot of free time. And so I got used to him helping a lot. And on his days off, he would do everything and help around the house. And so then when I had Theo, he helped a lot because he was still not in school yet then. And so, yeah, when he started getting really busy, it was really hard. And I learned really quick that I just couldn't expect anything of him. And it's definitely still a work in progress. I felt like I got better at it. I feel like it kind of goes in waves. Maybe it's because I'm in my third trimester of pregnancy now, and I'm tired and I don't want to do anything, that it's more frustrating now. But yes, I feel like I got used to it, and he still does help a little bit when he can. But you just have to get in the mindset. I reached out to the people that we did marriage counseling with. Actually, they're really good friends. And so I tried to get some feedback from her. And she just said, you need to act like he is gone. Her husband was in the military. And so he was gone for a year of deployment, I think. And she had 2 little girls at the time. And so she said, just act like he's deployed. Just act like he is not around. And you know what? When you get to see him, it's a bonus. So that kind of helped me and helped my mindset of when we get him, it's a bonus and we should be happy. And when we don't, I just do everything and I can do it joyfully.
So Danny, how was it for you? Because I remember Tanner talking about this the first couple months when we were in the didactic portion, the transition of you were full-time working, and it was that, again, limbo state where Tanner was home all the time, but having to study. And, I remember Tanner and I went golfing one day and Tanner was like, oh I feel so guilty. My wife's out working and here I am just golfing in the middle of the week. And so how was that transition?
Curse you guys for going golfing. I think for me, it's kind of similar to what Paige was saying, that at first I thought that, oh, wow, this is going to be all right. He's home all the time. He's studying. Our tactic at the beginning was for me to work full time while he devoted full time to school. So when I was gone from 7 to 6 p.m. or whatever for work all day, Tanner was doing a great job of trying to keep his studying in between those time frames while I was at work, so that whenever I got home, whenever I walked through the door, we could have time together. But some days were comical because he'd be golfing or, not that didn't happen frequently, but I think just some of those days where the load was lighter or there wasn't a big test coming up and he would have less, to devote less time to his studies during the day. Although I feel like looking back now, I should have had more grace there, because I wish she could have days like that now for time and breaks and that sort of thing. But I think just, transitioning to the CRNA school in general, and then also just me working full time, him being home studying, our biggest catch there, or our biggest win for us, was just devoting those evenings together when we could. And like Paige said, if that had to change, just transitioning and understanding or learning to understand that I'm not always guaranteed that time with him, but if I do get it, it's a bonus. For me, the didactic part was much easier. The first half of the program was much easier, even though the time restraints may be the same as far as studying all day versus going to clinical all day. But that first half of the program seemed much simpler than when you actually hit the clinical portion.
So this question will be for both of you, but is there anything that while we're in school, you guys have come to know as being just like really special? Or is that time, is that, a night away of just like no schoolwork, or what's really meaningful? I wonder if that's changed from before school to now. Be curious to know what your thoughts are.
What's come to be very special for me is time away. I know that it's happened a whole 3 times since we started this. But even just a night, a weekend, also enter a pandemic during CRNA school, you can't do much of anything. But, before CRNA school, like I said, we were travel nursing and we spent every day together. The only time we spent apart was the 36 hours we were on the floor during the weeks. And so we were together all the time. We were having adventures, we were having experiences. And I think, when that changed dramatically at the beginning of CRNA school and through CRNA school, what became really valuable to me was the time we get to spend away, the two of us, even if that's just, like I said, 24 hours, time to reconnect, being really intentional in conversation during that time. And, just anything that is time without anything to do with CRNA school is a win. So I feel like just for us, I think we just go a couple hours, like whether we go back to our hometown, or just get a hotel somewhere and go to dinner and go back to the hotel and hang out, talk, go to the hot tub, I don't know, just anything random like that, where you just don't have to think about CRNA school, even if it's short-lived, has become really special to me. So,
and for me, I think it's the weekends, because even though weekends are always great, Cole does a really good job of getting all his stuff done during the week. So then weekends are kind of off limits. He doesn't do homework. He doesn't look at his computer. He doesn't do any of that. And so it has been really nice to cherish those days, and they go way too fast. And really, Theo misses Cole a lot. It's really hard. And he always asks where his daddy is. And so to have the weekends and to have Cole be 100% and play with him, and we go to the park or go do something special, and then also just quality time at home. I really learned that it's not quantity, but it's quality. So for us to have that time has been really near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, and I want to add there that the first part of the program was not that way, where I wasn't very efficient at getting things done, and I had to do a lot on the weekends, and it got me so burnt out because I didn't get that quality time, and it really wasn't healthy at all. And I finally realized that I can really buckle down and get a lot of stuff done during the week. And yeah, I'm going to always have to do a little bit during the weekend. That's the nature of the beast with CRNA school, is there's always stuff to do. So there always is something to do, but I try to get those necessity things out of the way, where I might only have to do an hour or two during my son's nap, and really focus on getting that quality time on the weekends. And I know that's not going to work out for everybody. Our program's set up, we have tests Monday mornings. So Sunday nights after my son goes to bed are typically study times. But however your program's set up, I really would encourage you to find those blocked off times where you can get everything else done and not do schoolwork during those times, and really spend that quality time with your family. Again, as Paige kind of alluded to, it's not necessarily the quantity. Tanner already talked about how our resources in terms of time is so limited that I had to come to the grips with the fact that I'm not going to get as much time as I want to with my family. It really becomes, how am I going to make this time with them so special so that it makes it worth it? So what would be something that you would say to a couple that is getting ready to start the program, whether it's a couple that's already married, significant others, etc.? What's something that you wish someone would have told you prior to starting the program, both in the sense of be prepared for this, and in the sense of what's something you can do to negate that and make it easier for you?
I think for me, looking back, the biggest thing that I wish I would have known before we started was the amount of commitment that this program is going to take as a couple. It doesn't just depend on the student. So yes, Tanner and Cole are very committed, and they've given so much of their time and heart and blood, sweat, and tears to this program and to this goal. But the way that it affects your family, the nature in which you have to be ready to support your significant other through this program, it far surpasses what I knew before coming into CRNA school. And I think, like Paige was mentioning earlier, just having a lot of grace towards that, having a lot of understanding towards that, practicing so much patience towards that, reminding yourself how much you love that person. In even, as you struggle day to day to just make it through one more day. And I think just continuing to remind yourself that this is temporary. There's going to be an end, and reframing your mindset to positive thoughts. And I guess it's all about your attitude towards it, because you're going to go through it either way. And so I think, if you can just remind yourself why you're doing this and that it's temporary and that it's worth it, then I think, it makes that commitment just that much easier to continue in, because it's no joke for the family members.
Yeah, I think oftentimes if you're in a case or something and somebody asks you, how many more months do you have till you graduate? And they'll ask you, how are you doing with it? How's everything going? Are you, up to all the stress? How are tests going? And I don't think I can get through that conversation without mentioning home life or mentioning Danny and just talking about, because I think that's where all the focus is on the student. But I know how difficult this is for you, and I know how much effort you put into the program. And I think, there's so many nights that even if I come home late or something and, Danny's already made my lunch for the next day or little things like that, that I know she's exhausted from her long day. And I'm home late. Normally we'll make our lunches for the next day together, after dinner or whatever. But if I've missed dinner and then she's doing something like that, and then she's, helping get my things out for the next day, and those extra things that I know she's doing, and she's already completely depleted from her own work day. I know how difficult it is on you. And I know how, you work so hard with your 9 to 5. And then on top of that, we're so variable just on what we need, depending on if we're getting home late or, whatever that looks like. So I don't think I can ever answer that question without, talking about, I feel like we're in the program together. You know what I mean? I just feel like whatever hardships we're going through or I'm going through, you're going through them just the same. Whether I'm telling you about them or you see it when I come home and I'm completely drained, or I'm, gone before you even get up and things like that. I just think that there's a lot that you offer each other in a relationship. And while you go through anesthesia school, the reality is that from our standpoint, we're offering you a lot less and we're filling your cup a lot less just because we're simply not there that often. And then on top of that, the things that you're used to getting, you're not getting, and you're pouring out even more by supporting us. And so to echo your point, I just am amazed by your commitment and amazed by how much you give. And I don't think that was something that we really wrapped our minds around until we're in the middle of it. And we're sitting on the couch just staring at the wall because we're so tired. And we just realized like, we're doing this, we're going through it together. And it's definitely a team effort.
Yeah, I think for me, I severely underestimated what CRNA school actually was. People would tell me, oh, it's so bad, but it's so worth it. And I think it was kind of like a defense mechanism. I just was like, yeah, we'll be fine. It'll be fine. Like, it's going to be great. It'll be so worth it. And it's hard. I think for me, I was just looking at CRNA school like, that's it. Like, we just have to get through that. But I didn't think about like the other life, that we live day to day, and the hardships that brings too. And then combine the two, and makes it 10 times harder. I mean, we have had rough times during this program. I mean, Cole lost his grandpa unexpectedly. We had a miscarriage. Cole got severely depressed and anxious, which I have never walked through with him, and I have never really dealt with that. And so that was a huge, huge thing that we had to conquer that was so unknown. And so that's just, to name a few of the hard life things that we've gone through on top of CRNA school, because when you walk through hard things in life, CRNA school doesn't take a pause. You're then, doing both. And so just that aspect has been much harder than I thought. So I think I've really learned to just rely on the Lord a lot more, which is good. I've grown a lot. So I can take that out of it, which I'm thankful for.
So my question to you guys then, I remember when we were first starting in the program and they were telling us, as far as your support goes, they were like, you can tell your spouses, you can tell your family, no one's going to understand, what you're going through in anesthesia school like your classmates will. Your classmates will understand the same pressures. They'll understand the same, frustrations that nobody else will understand. I think to a point that's true, but do you guys, to kind of in the same vein, do you feel like your support systems understand what you're going through as a spouse of someone going through anesthesia school? Or do you feel like when you talk to people, it's just like they're not getting it and you don't really have the same support that, you would for other problems that people can really identify with?
For us, we were pretty lucky and fortunate. We got to stay in our hometown. Both of our families are here. We got to stay in our house. We didn't have to move for CRNA school. And I think that has made a huge difference. My family has been a huge support system. My mom has been so good through this whole thing. She helps me a lot. She helps me spiritually and physically and emotionally. And I can go to her when I'm just drained, and she'll either take Theo for me or just talk to me or pray with me. And she also was super good with Cole through his whole journey with depression and anxiety. She has walked that road to some extent, and she just knew the right things to say because I was not in the right mindset during that time. And I think I was just on autopilot. And so she really came along and helped us and basically did everything for us, and really would come over late at night when Cole was struggling and just pray over us. And so she has been a huge, huge help. I don't know if we could do it without her. And I feel like she really gets it.
I feel like Tanner and I have a different experience than Paige is talking about while we don't have any kids. And I applaud Paige and Cole for navigating parenthood through CRNA school. Tanner and I don't live anywhere near any of our family or friends. And so that's a different experience. I think with the distance brings, first of all, we don't get to see our family very frequently. And I think I'm speaking generally. A lot of people don't understand what a CRNA is at all anyway, in general. And so I think, with the distance from our family and friends, we get a lot of general questions, which is fine. You want to spread the love when you're with the people you love. You don't want to talk just about CRNA school. And most of the time when we're away, we're trying to forget that anyway. But I think just for us, Tanner and I's experience, that a lot of times people don't understand what he's doing, and they don't understand the depth of that and the time commitment it's taking. And that's okay. That's not to say anything poorly about a support system in any way. It's just that I think it's just different for us because we don't have any close family or friends around. So it's different support that we're getting from afar. And people have loved us so well, even though they don't understand what a CRNA is or how much time it's taking Tanner to go through this program. I think a lot of people have just, like I said, continued to love us so well. They've sent packages and they've wrote cards for us and called us and checked on us and texted us. And I think the second part of the answer to that question would be that I think it's sometimes hard to vent about CRNA school to your support system because it's a choice. You chose to apply to this program. You chose to go through this program. You're choosing to further your education, and you're always wanting to compare that people are going through harder things. Things are really hard in life, and you chose to go to CRNA school. So it's hard to complain about that, even though it comes with a lot of turmoil and a lot of time and hardship. So I feel like that's another hard part about CRNA school and a support system is that you feel it's hard to talk about CRNA school, honestly, with people, because like I said, this is a choice that you made and it's such an opportunity and a wonderful opportunity. And so it's a bit tough to say anything negative about that to people other than your significant other or spouse.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And as Tanner already talked about, we just didn't realize how much, at least from my standpoint, that my wife was going to have to go through this program with me. From the fact that I come home every night and tell her all the stories about the things that are frustrating me and the things that I have coming up as hurdles and things I have to get through, different types of grades, tests, projects, big cases, etc. It's been a little fun for me for the fact that Paige was a surgical tech for several years. So she really knew the OR environment prior to me even going to CRNA school. So I learned from a very early time in the anesthesia program to not underestimate surgical technologists because they run the show when it comes to operating rooms. So she told me that from the get-go, just make sure I understand that. So really that's been fun from that standpoint, just to share stories with her. And it's been nice for a support system for me to be able to do that. But again, as Tanner said, we are just so thankful for you guys for going through this with us because we honestly cannot do this by ourselves. I honestly don't know how in the world I would have gotten through this program without my wife to be able to come home to each night and discuss things with. She was able to walk me through things, encourage me. And I mean, it was a struggle. It's not easy by any means. And I think that's the biggest point we want to get at here is it's going to be a stressor on your relationships. And I guess looking forward now for a couple months when we graduate, what's the biggest thing that you guys are looking forward to? Is it going to be the journey that we've accomplished by getting through this program, building our relationship stronger through it? Is it going to be, you name it, just kind of talk about what you're excited about, what you're proud of, etc.
I haven't even thought about what I'm looking forward to because I feel like we're in the war right now. And so I think I mean, of course, I think the few things that come to my mind quickly are just more time, the flexibility. I think for all the times that Tanner comes home and says, the CRNA that I was with today says that it does get better. And it's amazing. And it's an awesome career. And it's so much fun. And they love what they do. And I truly think both Tanner and Cole are going to love what they do. And so I think seeing them thrive in that, as well as getting time back and just like wiping your hands of CRNA school and accomplishing it and doing that and then high-fiving and moving on. I think that's just kind of like, I'm just really looking forward to the relief that passing boards brings. And then just to see them actually get to practice and, enjoy the fruits of their labor, and then the time that we'll get back, and just the one less stressor on our relationship, or just the one less stressor on our family. Yeah, just to get to enjoy all the work that they've done and that we've done together.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm like the moment I'm looking forward to, this sounds so mundane, but I'm like, there's going to be some time when I'm just like cleaning out my garage and I have no homework that I need to go inside and start working on. And it's going to be, I'm picturing it's like sunny. I'm cleaning out the garage and I have a case in the morning that I'm like, yeah, we can, like, I'll worry about that in the morning when I go in and do the case. And I don't have anybody that's going to be necessarily evaluating me. And I'm like, all of that stress is just like melting away from my brain when I envision that. And I'm like, to me, that will be like the moment where I'm like, I'm not in anesthesia school anymore. And we'll go to dinner that night. We'll like have the money to actually go afford a date night or something. I don't know. To me, it's just like, there's going to be that day that's giving me hope that all of the stress and mental space that CRNA school takes up in your head, even when you're not at school or you're not at clinical, to me, I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I cannot wait for December. It really could not come soon enough. Just to have Cole back and to get more quality time with him. Right now, Cole is so unreliable and it's not his fault. But, if I... You are.
Okay, I'm not that bad, guys. I promise.
Do we need to get the counselor?
Yeah.
No, I can never.
We're here to talk, guys.
I'm regretting doing this talk right now.
Yeah.
No, in all seriousness, through this program, he has been so unreliable. And it's just because of the nature of the beast. Like, if I try and plan something, it always happens that he has to finish the case, or, if I, just anything like that. And so that has been really frustrating. So I cannot wait to have a time that he's going to be home. And also I am retiring. So we will be having a graduation party / retirement party, and I'm going to stay home with my babies and I cannot wait for that.
That'll be a party.
I'm very much looking forward to my wife's retirement. I echo what Tanner said. I'm just so excited to get to the point where it's back to feeling just like a normal job, where the night before you're not worrying about making a care plan to get looked at and checked over the next morning, and the social aspect of meeting a new preceptor every day and having to be on your A game. Not saying that you don't need to be on your A game every time you're performing anesthesia, but there's just that extra sense of stress level, not knowing who you're going to be interacting with the next morning. And I'm just really excited to get to the point where I'm comfortable. I know the environment I'm in, because we just bounce around from hospital to hospital to hospital every few weeks. And I'm really excited just to settle in, get to know my coworkers. And as Tanner said, the night before, I can go out to dinner, relax with my family, and go to work the next morning and just get that flow of doing that again. And also feel really nice to get paid for the hours that we're doing. That'll be a nice perk.
Yeah, no joke. I feel like we've talked about that before where you put in a really long week and you're like, this would be really, really nice if you were making a paycheck. But you know that obviously if it was easy, everybody would do it. And so we know that part of how difficult it is just is part of the why it's such a great career, and you have to really be put through the ringer to get to that point. So we understand that, but it doesn't make it any less hard while you're going through it. But to you guys, we just say again, thank you. What I said at the beginning, I really mean. I think at the beginning of the program, I didn't understand how much this was going to be stressful and draining on you, Danny. I mean, I just knew for myself, I was anticipating how much time and effort I would have to put into school, but and maybe that was just being narrow-minded and not thinking broadly about that, but just really wasn't aware of how difficult that would be. And I also think that people that do understand what we're going through mainly focus on us and don't focus on everything that you guys are going through too. So while you're going through it too, people don't appreciate that, or, maybe come alongside you guys like they do for us, because we're theoretically the only ones going through it. So again, thank you guys. You guys are rocks and have just been everything to us as we've gone through this program. And as we hear, it does get better. It is worth it. But we're just so thankful for you guys. And thank you for coming on and doing this, because I know that a lot of people will find this helpful just to hear your perspectives.